The 2019 NFL Scouting Combine is in the books, but is the Broncos draft board any clearer? And with free agency just 10 days away, what's John Elway's priorities? We'll answer those questions and more coming up on this Combine Recap. Hello from inside the Broncos Media Center. I'm Phil Milani alongside Matt Boyer and Steve Atwater. Guys, the Broncos still sitting at number 10. Is the position any clearer? Where are they going to go at that number 10 pick?
I don't know if it's any clearer, but I definitely saw a couple players that I personally liked. I think Devin White, I think we were all impressed with how great Devin White performed at the Combine. 4.42 40 time, 39.5-inch vertical. The physical traits are all there, but I was also impressed with some of his answers. He called Von Miller the GOAT. He says he wants to play alongside Bradley Chubb. He thinks he'd be a sneaky addition to that defense. I like the kid out of LSU, Steve. Now, that being said, he might not be there at 10.
Yeah, he might not be there at 10, but I know we need two cornerbacks. So not just one, we need two corners. Hopefully one of them will be addressed in free agency. Hopefully the other one through the draft. And with that number 10 pick, I'd like to see the Denver Broncos take cornerback out of Georgia, Deandre Baker.
I know that's your guy.
He's the first cornerback off the board. This guy, he's a scrappy guy. I heard the 40 times. He ran a 4.52 today. That's his official time. That's plenty fast to be able to cover man-to-man, and also all the zone coverages that we'll be running. He'll be able to disguise those and be physical on those running backs getting passes out of the backfield and cornerbacks and tight ends catching balls in the flat. He's going to come up and lay a lick on them, cause some fumbles, and get a bunch of interceptions.
Now, a lot of people don't have DeAndre Baker that far up. You think the Broncos might be able to trade back and still get him?
Well, possibly. Now, obviously that would be a better situation if we could trade back and get him, just say, in the 20 area, somewhere in the 20th pick. But many times in the draft, you know, all these projections, they're just that. They're projections. Teams don't always do what they're projected to do. Guys go a lot higher than people say they're going to go. So, I would sit right there at 10 knowing that we need a couple of good cornerbacks, and I'd take DeAndre Baker with that number 10 pick.
7 career interceptions for DeAndre Baker. Let's go back and talk a little bit more about Devin White. He was blazing out there on the 40 time. He was a Butkus Award winner. He talked a little bit about Roquan Smith. He said, hey, we saw what Roquan Smith did with Vic Fangio's defense last year. I think I could be that same kind of player. You think Devin White would be a plug-and-play kind of guy for the Broncos?
Absolutely. I think it's also funny, too, that he mentioned, you know, Roquan and I were in the SEC at the same time, and I had more tackles. So
no lack of confidence.
Yeah, no. He said in the third person, referred to himself multiple times. I know you love this.
I love that.
If you want anybody to cover a tight end, put Devin White out.
Who's Devin White? Oh, that's me.
Well, when you look at the rest of the AFC West, you're talking about guys like Hunter Henry, you're talking about Travis Kelce. Maybe getting a linebacker who can cover these guys makes a lot of sense, Steve.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And again, it's my theory that when you have a defense that disguises well, changes the coverages up a lot, it's going to make it a lot easier on who's ever covering. So I think Ty Davis is going to do a much better job covering this year. And if we end up drafting one of the great linebackers, Devin Bush, Devin White, they're going to do a great job as well, just because of the overall scheme of the defense.
One thing to look at, too, anywhere Vic Fangio has gone, he's really started or had that centerpiece, that quarterback of the defense. Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis, Sam Mills, all the way back to the mid-'90s when he was the defensive coordinator in Carolina. I think that there are plenty of nice centerpieces to be that quarterback for Vic Fangio in this draft, especially in the first round.
Devin White wasn't the only superstar out of the Combine. Let's send things over to Andrew Mason, our draft specialist. Mesa, who are some of your Combine standouts?
I'm going to start with Garrett Bradbury right here on the offensive line. The big guy out of NC State was among the leaders in every category, not just speed, but strength, the bench press. He put up 34 reps. And the thing with Bradbury, good interior offensive lineman, the film on him at NC State is excellent. He also had a very good Senior Bowl week in Mobile back in January. I thought coming out of that, he could be somebody in play for the Broncos at number 41. This Combine workout for Bradbury probably means he could go at the end of the first round somewhere in those last 8 picks. Now, let's move on to the defensive side of the football at linebacker, Devin Bush out of Michigan. Devin White is getting, obviously, a lot of the big play right now, but Devin Bush was step for step with Devin White. There's only 1/100th of a difference in their 40 times. He's a bit shorter than Devin White, had some better workout numbers during the combine, and the film is outstanding on Devin Bush. Devin White is somebody that could go as high as number 5 perhaps, and Devin Bush might be a top 10, top 12 pick after this outstanding combine workout. You can make a legitimate comparison on Devin Bush to Sam Mills, who played for Vic Fangio back in the 1980s and 90s with the Saints and Carolina. And then back to the offensive side, it's a very good tight end class, and Noah Fant has a chance to be at the head of that class. He had a 4.5 40 time at the combine when he ran it on Saturday, and that's a pretty significant number for Noah Fant. You're getting to a 4.5 40 time. You're in the range of George Kittle, Evan Engram, O.J. Howard, the number 20 overall pick a couple of years ago to Tampa Bay. Big question on Noah Fant was, where did he compare with T.J. Hawkinson? Hawkinson, a bit better blocker on the film, but he had a 4.7 40. Hawkinson and Fant together at Iowa. Fant had the better combine work, and don't forget, when you look at their production, Noah Fant better in the red zone, 18 touchdowns the last couple of years compared to 9 for Hawkinson. Fant could be the first tight end off the board, but of these 3 for the Broncos, at number 10, Devin Bush might be someone who fits what they're looking for. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mace. A lot of insight there. But first comes free agency before the draft. Let's get these guys' thoughts here. Where do you think that the Broncos are going to go? I know that when John Elway sat down with me at the Combine, he said O-line, cornerback, and maybe even a safety.
Cornerback comes first to mind. I know that you've mentioned Ronald Darby's name ad nauseum. That's your
times.
guy.
That's my guy.
If I had a dime for every time you said his name this past month, I'd be living pretty well. But I think that, the class is deep. I think that this cornerback class, you've got Mo Claiborne, Darby, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger is going to be out here. I think that if you find a veteran guy to pair with Chris Harris Jr., Isaac Godham, still kind of young, Steve, I think that if you get a veteran guy in there, that's going to be a big thing for that DB's room.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think Ronald Darby would be a good addition. The only thing is he had an injury last year, and guys coming off of injuries, I'm not super crazy about that. Steven Nelson with the Kansas City Chiefs, he's a possibility. He's a young guy, not injured. I think he has a ton of potential. Don't know what's going to happen with Brad Roby. I like to see us bring back Brad Roby because I know that he has a ton of talent and he can play much better than he played last year. He can be physical with those running backs coming into the flat as well. It's going to be very interesting to see which route we go, though. Lots of options.
And yeah, you mentioned Bradley Roby, but they also have to consider a guy like Matt Paradis. You think that the Broncos have their own free agents that they have to keep. What do you think is the latest with a guy like Matt Paradis?
I think that both sides, I think there's an interest there. I think it sounds like the Broncos are going to kind of see what the market bears out on Matt. I still think they're extremely interested. I think one of the things to keep in mind, too, is that this is an entirely new offensive line staff. There might be some familiarity stuff there, Steve, with Mike Munchak looking at some of the free agents like Ramon Foster from Pittsburgh and saying, you know what, that's one of my guys. He might fit in well here. We go with him, maybe put Connor McGovern at center. We might be able to work some things.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, bringing guys in. And you heard Coach Fangio say a lot of times that may be overrated, the value of actually bringing in guys that play for you. But a guy that with Ramon Foster's resume could certainly help out. I would actually like to see us get something done with Matt Paradis. Again, I know the price level is probably going to be pretty high, and if it gets out to where it's astronomical, I would imagine the Broncos will back away from the table at that time. But up until that point, I'm hoping that they're able to make something happen there.
Well, we know the start of the league year just 10 days away. The Broncos will want to fill some of these needs before they head into the draft. And we know one thing's for sure, this Broncos roster is going to look a lot different come the end of April than it does right now here at the start of March. All right, that's going to do it for this Combine recap show. For Steve Atwater, Matt Boyer, Andrew Mason, I am Phil Milani.